2020 is a landmark year for the Royal Society of Biology, with the year marking its 10th anniversary. Sharon Thomas spoke to RSB Chief Executive Dr. Mark Downes about the importance of biology in society today and what's on the horizon for the next decade and beyond.
Dr. Mark Downes, many thanks for joining us. What would you suggest as some of the key challenges currently facing the global community?
There are a huge number I could probably point to, but I think there are probably three which I'd focus in on. Climate change and biodiversity loss, I think, probably has to be the biggest challenge facing us at the moment. There are 1 million species globally that are facing extinction, over 40% of our amphibians, 33% of our coral reefs. It's a real challenge. And on the back of that, we have an impact of human use of land and sea, which has other implications, not least of which reflects the burden of disease we face. And we've seen a classic example of that recently with the COVID pandemic. And there will undoubtedly be further infectious disease outbreaks in the future, because as we change the use of land and sea, the biodiversity changes. And for example, on land, the animals that might not normally be there would move in, typically smaller animals, which are vectors for disease. So we can expect that sort of thing to continue in the future. So climate change and the burden of disease. And then finally, the way in which we treat those sorts of diseases. And for infectious diseases, bacterial diseases in particular, and parasitic diseases, antimicrobial resistance is a massive challenge. It's a problem for any medical professional trying to treat someone around the world now, that they may have to give more than one drug for a bacterial parasitic infection because the first one may prove to have resistance in the patient. So those three things, I think, are some of the biggest challenges we face as a society over the next 10 to 20 years.
And how would you say the biosciences can help in addressing some of those challenges you've outlined there?
I think it's a rapidly changing environment, and what we've seen with the current pandemic is that bioscience and health professionals have really stepped up to accelerate the pace of change. The research has been put into practice very quickly, and going forward we need to make sure that we build on that, we learn the lessons of how to continue to do that in other sectors. And when we look at individuals who have infections and how they can be treated, it's how we focus medical interventions in other ways. And personalised medicine, precision medicine, targeting the treatment to the individual person is really important. And the biosciences has a key role in doing that, in understanding how we can bring together things like artificial intelligence, the use of data, application of new diagnostic techniques to treat people in a more precise way. And then finally, I think I'd pick on international collaboration, where bioscientists and policy advisors from around the world gather together in forums such as the United Nations to make sure we have the frameworks which can address these problems.
So, Mark, what else does the bioscience sector need to do to meet those challenges head on?
I think it needs to, first of all, ensure that we collaborate. Science is an international endeavour, and bioscience is no exception. Scientists try to address problems, and the way they address those problems is by bringing disciplines together, by bringing the skills together, by bringing the diversity of view together to enable a solution to be found. So it's got a lot to do with bioscience, but it's also got a lot to do with the political framework in which bioscience operates. And I think it's beholden on the bioscience community to make sure that we engage with politicians, the media, to provide them with the information they need in order to make the right decisions for all of us.
So you at the RSB have just celebrated your 10th anniversary. Congratulations. What hopes do you have now for the next 10 years?
I want to see us engage even more with members of the public to make sure that people understand the value of the biosciences, why it's relevant to them, why it's relevant to the challenges we face in the world. But I also want to make sure we can continue to support our membership through professional development, to make sure that from the beginning to the end of their career they have support in whatever type of role they're performing. I also want to make sure that our policy engagement grows. We have a policy resource library already with 800 contributions in it, showing the way in which we contribute to policy development. That needs to grow and expand and take in more organisations. We will be growing our accreditation of bioscience degrees. We currently cover more than 50% of UK universities and are spreading out internationally. That needs to be 75% over the next 10 years, because that's the way in which we can drive change in the education system through university teaching, through the 5 to 19 education system, to make sure that the bioscience graduates of the future have the skills which will help them with their employment to contribute to the challenges which I'm sure we'll continue to face.
OK, Dr. Mark Downes, good luck in your endeavours. And many thanks for joining us today. Thank you.
Thank you very much.